Okay, the next lesson that we're going to be looking at for figurative language is our alliterations. You've probably worked with these before, and this is the next 2 pages in your figurative language packet that we are cutting out and gluing in. So you may label the next 2 pages alliteration. Okay, there's the first one. And then the back of that page for me, maybe the front of the next page for you, is going to be the same title. And then I'm going to flip back to my table of contents and fill that out for the next 2 pages. And I am going to choose to write this one twice, just so you can see how it looks written twice. If you choose not to, you don't have to. You can draw your arrow down, or you can do little quotation marks to show that that title right above it is the same title that is on this line too. All right, so I'm going to flip back. So you have the first page that's going to be cut out and glued in looks like this. It says alliteration up on top. We'll write the definition here, and then we'll do some practice down below. And then the second page has a paragraph on there about hurricanes. It has a little swirl up on the top. That is going to be glued into the second page. Okay, so I'm going to glue the first one down first, which is this one. So again, we're just gluing the whole back down. Okay, and then I'm going to just glue the other page down just so we have that set up. So my hurricane paragraph is going to go here on the second page. Glue the whole back down. Okay, now we are ready to begin taking the notes. So flip back to the first page we just glued in, where all the notes are for the alliterations. And alliteration, let me flip my screen here. All right, so alliterations is the repetition of the first consonant sound. Okay, so you're looking at the first letter of sentences, or of words. The first letter of words, if they are showing multiple words in a row starting with the same consonant letter. So a lot of times you'll see S's, W's, R's, D's. Those are a lot easier to use, and a lot of words start with those words. So alliteration is the repetition of these letters being used as the first letter in a word. So you'll see down below there are some examples. Wide-eyed and wondering, we wait for the others to wake. Now take a look at that sentence there and see what letter or what consonant letter, remember that's every letter of the alphabet that is not a vowel. What consonant letter do you see being repeated? Well, I see a W, a W, a W, a W, and a W. So you would see that the alliteration for this one is W. Down below, this is a very popular alliteration. She sells seashells down by the seashore. So obviously the S's are being repeated here for the alliteration in that sentence. Okay, all right, let's look at the practice part down below. So the practice part is showing a couple different sentences, and you have to write the letter or the consonant that is being repeated in those sentences. So the first one, the sun slid silently down into the horizon. Looking at that sentence, what consonant is being repeated over and over again as the first letter of these sentences? And you should have the letter S written down. Okay, S is the consonant that's being repeated, so that's the alliteration. The next one, in the distance, the bells bellowed on the breeze. I see bees, a lot of them, so B would be the letter repeated there as the alliteration. The next one, Sarah sang a song of happiness. Now, what's tricky about this one is you do have, well, I see a lot of S's starting letters here, so we probably can assume that the alliteration is S. But you also have S sounds in the middle or the end of a word here. That may happen, but that would not technically be included in the alliteration part. You are looking at the first letter of the word being repeated. Okay, so even though that's there, that would not technically be included in the alliteration, but it is still being repeated again in that word in the sentence. Okay, and the last one. Rosa Parks raised a rallying cry for racial equality. I see an R, an R, an R, and an R here. Now, like we said, Parks has an R in it, cry has an R in it, for has an R in it, but those wouldn't be included in the alliteration. It is just the first letter of the word, that consonant. Okay, even though that R is still used multiple times more than just in the first letter. Okay, now what you are going to do at the bottom is you're going to improve the following sentences with an alliteration. So they give you just a basic sentence, and you're going to add some descriptive words in there using a letter you already see in the sentence to create your own alliteration. So the snake crossed our paths. So what might be easiest is to use the noun or the subject of the sentence and add an alliteration based off of what letter that starts with. Okay, so you could talk about the snake and use descriptive words, maybe one or two words before the word snake to show and to describe what the snake looks like, and maybe think of an S word that could describe how they crossed the path, or think about a word that starts with an S that could describe the word path as well. Okay, so go ahead and pause this video. I'll give you quite a bit of time to create sentences here. If you need more room, you can always write underneath here, but they don't give you a whole lot of room. So good luck, be creative, and then just pause this video until you're done, and then re-pause them again when you are done, or restart the video again when you are done writing your sentences. All right, so I'm going to add my alliterations in here, and I'm going to say the slimy snake sneakily crossed our straight paths. So now I have S, 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 and S being used. All right, the next one. I felt scared when the lightning struck. Well, I already see two S's in there, so I might just use that and go along with that. I felt slightly scared when the streak of lightning struck. Again, I went with those S's. Those are pretty easy to add in, especially when they're already added in twice in the sentence. All right, Tom went fishing yesterday. Now, you could use a T, you could use an F. Those are probably going to be the easiest ones to use. So Tom, what should I do? Tom totally went this one's tough. Tom totally went fishing at 10 yesterday. I wanted to add another T word at the end, or toward the end of the sentence there. Tom totally went fishing at 10 yesterday. Okay, so I was able to add in T's. Now, there's not a whole lot of words in there, and obviously I probably could have added a lot more words in these three sentences that started with a T or an S or an S, but I just chose to add a couple more. Okay, so hopefully that's what you did in yours. I can't wait to read all of your examples that you wrote down on this page here. All right, let's flip to the next page. Now the next page has a paragraph, and you're going to read through the paragraph and then answer the questions below about it. I will read the paragraph out loud to you if you wish. Otherwise, you can pause this video and read it yourself. But if you think about yesterday and the simile and metaphor paragraphs that we did similar to this, you're probably going to be underlining some things in the paragraph. So before you even start reading, I would, or as you are reading, I would be listening for all of these alliterations that you're going to find in the paragraph. Hurricanes are wild and wicked storms with furious winds and powerful rain. These tropical storms are about 2,000 times wider than tornadoes. When the storms hit land, high winds drive the sea toward the shore. Then waves crash onto the land, bringing chaos, commotion, and often catastrophe to everything in its path. Hurricanes are slow-moving and unstoppable. They usually form over warm water. While most hurricanes occur out at sea, causing little harm, the storms that reach land leave behind devastating destruction. Amazingly, the strong winds of a hurricane can reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour. That's strong enough to uproot trees and destroy buildings. All right, now, first question says, underline examples of alliteration in the passage below. I think I found quite a few as I was reading this here. So I'm just going to go through sentence by sentence and underline the letter that is being repeated in that sentence. So I see the first sentence right off the bat had quite a few W's in there. Okay, so I know that one has an alliteration in it. These tropical storms are about 2,000 times wider than tornadoes. These tropical storms are about 2,000 times wider than tornadoes. That second sentence has an alliteration also, quite a few of them. When the storms hit land, high winds drive the sea toward the shore. I do kind of see one in there. It's not off or as often as the other two, but I do see 3 S words in there that you could consider an alliteration. Then waves crash onto the land, bringing chaos, commotion, and often catastrophe to everything in its path. I see quite a few C's being repeated in this sentence here. So far, every sentence that we've read has an alliteration in it. Hurricanes are slow-moving and unstoppable. I don't really see any repeated consonant first letters in that sentence, so I'm going to skip to the next one. They usually form over warm water. We could consider these two, because they're right next to each other. While most hurricanes occur out at sea, causing little harm, the storms that reach land leave behind devastating destruction. Now this one, I see a couple here in one sentence. So I see 2 S's, I see 2 L's right next to each other, and I see 2 D's right next to each other. I might give preference to the 2 L's and the 2 D's, considering them alliterations. I might just ignore the S and the S here, just because they're kind of far apart from each other, and it could be easily overlooked as being not considered an alliteration. So I'm going to consider the L's and the D's one. Okay, next sentence. Amazingly, the strong winds of a hurricane can reach speeds up to 150 miles per hour. I don't really see many in there, so I'm going to skip over that sentence. That's strong enough to uproot trees and destroy buildings. I don't see one in there either. So I'm going to look back and count just how many sentences have alliterations in them. Okay, and that's the number that I'm going to put down here. Not how many alliterations, but how many sentences have that. So I know the first sentence does, second sentence does, third sentence does, fourth sentence does, sixth sentence does, and the 8th sentence does. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I see 6 alliterations. Okay, so now the next 2 questions you are going to write down on your own. I'm not going to fill in these answers for you. You're going to write them in on your own. How does alliteration improve the passage? So think back to your sentences that you created on the front side here. You saw the original sentences, and then you saw how when you added alliterations to them, how it changed the sentence completely. Think about and maybe look back at these and look at the first sentence compared to the second sentence, first compared to the second, first compared to the second, and see how that changed the sentence there. And then write in on this line down below, how does alliteration improve the passage? Okay, then number 3 says rewrite this sentence from the passage, add alliteration. So you're going to do the same thing down here that you did on the front side. Rewrite the sentence and add alliteration. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, and then again, feel free to pause this video whenever you need it. Go back and rewatch parts of it if you need it, and then just let me know if you have any questions.